Hey folks, it's Jahan here again, and now we are at day 6 since the third session of scalp micropigmentation. Once again, just so you can have a look at how it looks like, you can see I've got like a couple of scars and a bit of dry skin up here, but otherwise it's looking pretty good. I get back to be able to exfoliate properly tomorrow, I think, or in a couple of days. Just the kind of brush they gave me, or exfoliating glove they gave me, just to get off the excess pigment. I'll be able to sort that out, but it's not very visible and it's not a big deal. So this video is all about just, my whole little channel here is all about just documenting where I'm at with my experience with SMP. The purpose of this is partly for me to just vent. It's also for me to be able to share my experiences with you as someone who has no financial motivation in this at all. I don't want you to get SMP. I don't want you to not get SMP. I want you to make the right decision. And this is just me trying to give the information that I wish I had when I did this. So before I get started, I want to quickly just recap 3 very important points on what I think is important if you want to do SMP. I want to put this at the beginning of every video because I don't want people to, getting how I feel today to be like everything they need to know and go out and do it or don't do it. I want you to know that my feeling is that SMP is pretty good if you have realistic expectations. If you do it with the best people you can possibly find, don't go for anything other than that, and that you do it in a sensible way. And the last one is that you do your research. So you don't want to be like me, asking yourself questions just after you've done it. You want to make sure that you have all those questions that are going to come up later answered beforehand, so then when you take the plunge, you know what's going to happen. In the last few videos, you'll see that I've kind of really been through a bit of an emotional roller coaster, because when you get SMP done, it initially looks quite bold, like the dots are very big, but then the pigment sheds and your skin exfoliates and regenerates, and as the whole process kind of heals, it softens, and what looks quite dramatic starts to look a lot better. Today, I'm in a good place with it. So what's good about today is, although I can't buzz my head yet, I can only trim it with clippers. It blends pretty well. And the experience I had yesterday was that I told a friend of mine that I was doing something. I said, "Hey man, I'm doing something interesting." And he's like, "Oh, you're growing your hair out?" And I was like, "Kinda." And he's like, "Wait, what?" And then I'm like, "Have you heard of scalp micropigmentation?" He's like, "Oh, yeah, that hair tattoo thing. Yeah, I've heard of it." Because he's got a lot of hair, but he's taking Ashton Martin or something to try and slow down the hair loss. He's not sure whether it's working or not. But anyway, and his first question to that was, "Wait, so have you done it already?" He couldn't actually see that I'd had this done, which for me is a great result. I don't want it to be obvious that I've done this. I want it to be kind of a super subtle thing that just makes you, that, like I said, accentuates the face and slightly just softens the horseshoe at the back. So that was great, and I think that once I start buzzing, it'll look pretty much perfect. But the thing I'm really liking right now is the fact that when you look at the sides, and so I got a bit of scarring here because I had these dodgy headphones that kind of were dropping off, they were kind of falling apart, and the skin was reacting with them. So that's why there's a bit of funkiness there. But anyway, when you look here, you can this is where it's a fair bit. There's a lot more hair and it's kind of growing. And if you touch here, it feels very, very thick. There's a full head of hair there. And then you feel up here and it's quite soft. And when you look at it and touch it and stuff, it doesn't look like I'm I got a full head of hair. It looks like I'm just kind of balding, but I've still got a bit of a hairline. It looks like it's just thin up here if you get close, and then from a distance it looks kind of fine. And that's a nice thing for me. It's nice to know that I can do that. And if this were even to soften over the years, as it will, and it'll fade, so long the color doesn't go funky, or the blobs don't merge into kind of one, it'll still look pretty good, I reckon. So that's good, because that's kind of what I'm going for. I don't want to become an SMP lifer where I'm constantly trying to make my head look different. I kind of want it to be subtle, so that's good. I don't really need to completely trim it down. I can still look like a person who's kind of balding, but it's just not super obvious. And I've been reading, in the last few days, I've really gone, I kind of panicked when I got this done. You can see in the last video, I went all the way to the point of actually talking to a person that was recommended through another provider, where they do, SMP removal, just so I knew what was involved, just in case I wanted to do it. And yeah, like I now understand how that process would look like, and I know it's an option whenever I feel like it, really. But at this point, it looks like if I were to just let it fade away, it's probably going to be all right. And if I need to get it removed at some point, I can. And the longer I leave it before I get it removed, the better it'll be. Because like I said, I don't want to be going in and getting touch-ups and constantly thinking about this, the idea of being a 60-year-old dude in 20 years. Like I'm 36 now. The idea is like, in 10 years, this SMP journey is largely kind of over. And at that point, I'm just embracing being a little bit older. Because I think kind of, being older and bald and stuff kind of works. It's kind of a normal thing. This is like a thing I want to experience in my late 30s. So, right now I'm feeling pretty good. And what have I done? I went to a very good place in Sydney, like one of the best places, got it done with a practitioner with 8.5 years experience. And that really made a difference in terms of like the, like what it looks like now. And I feel it looks pretty good. And, I think one thing that I've been seeing is like in like a lot of hair loss forums and stuff, people like to kind of cast shade at SMP, saying, oh, like it looks so obvious, blah, blah, blah. And it kind of got me thinking. I think if you get like a really, like one of those buzz cut looks, I think you're really going down a dark path, because if you look at this, the side here, there's very little done. Like you can see a slight kind of hairline there, like a bit of a, there's not much definition there. The hairline's pretty high up, and here it kind of fades into like my natural hair. That's kind of what you need to be doing. If you go for that real buzz cut look, I don't know how it's going to age. And like the fact that you got no, like I get a little bit self-conscious sometimes. At least the first few days, I was very self-conscious that people look at this and go, "There's nothing there." But the thing is, I've had people close up just not noticing it. And if you keep it short, it looks fine. But that's just because it's not dramatic, and I'm not trying to pretend that I've got a full head of hair. I think where those baldness websites are getting it wrong is these forums are talking about this as if like it makes you, it's like the same as a hair transplant where you just have lots of hair and then, people see you as a guy with hair. I think they're kind of mixing up the way people perceive you. Like if you're bald, you might have a weird perception that everyone kind of sees you first like as like, oh my God, no hair. And then they look at everything else. But the truth of the matter is, like, they look at you first and see other things, and then afterwards they'll see you as like some guy with a shaved head or whatever, and then afterwards they might see you as bald. Like they'll see you as maybe bald if you like have like, just that sides grown out, but otherwise they probably really won't. And I think this is just, you look like you got a shaved head, and then afterwards they kind of don't really know if you're bald or not. If you got SMP done, whereas if you hadn't had it done, they might be like, oh yeah, looks kind of bald, I can see a little bit there, but it's pretty subtle anyway. Like I think if you're bald, you look pretty damn good, and this is just a way to change that up a little bit, make it look a little bit maybe fresher, I guess, or make it look a little bit more youthful. But it's not I think when it's done well, it's not like a big game changer. It's not the same as getting a hair transplant where you actually look like you got a full head of hair and you can grow it. So I think if you come at it from that perspective, you're setting yourself up for failure. So anyway, this is another little rant. I'll make another one when I feel there's something I have to say. I'll make them less and less frequently as time goes on, because I'll have more other shit to talk about. But yeah, like I said, I think SMP, like the journey you go through as you get it done, is very dramatic, because every time you get those dots, they start out big and then they get smaller, and they start out bold and then they become like, more subtle, which is what I was going for. And I think if you go to the right place, then it'll end up looking fine. But just make sure you don't try and fly too high and make it look like you've got, like you actually have hair sitting on the top of your head. It looks like you've shaved it all off. And that's about it. So anyway, you can see it now. I'll get a bit closer. That's probably what you're looking here for anyway, rather than hearing me rant. But looking at it really close up, it's not super obvious that it's not hair. And in terms of what I'm going to tell people, I'm going to be super open about it. Like, I'm bald, and I'm not. I saw another video. This one guy said, "Oh, I got a full head of hair now." It's like, no, you don't. You're bald, and that's fine. Like, we're bald. We're bald dudes. We're embracing bald. This is just another way of embracing bald. And you can say that. Maybe you're not. This is not quite bald acceptance. Maybe, I don't know. But I'm happy to go back to bald in a few years. It's not a problem to me. So that's my thoughts on this. Like, it's a nice way to be bald in my mind. And you're still bald. And if you're trying to be not bald with SMP, I think that's a mistake. I think that's the wrong mentality to go in with. And you shouldn't be trying to fool people. You should just have a look that looks good. And then when people say, oh, hey, why don't you grow your hair? And you're like, oh, no, like, I'm bald, dude. And you can like point out that it's like longer hair and stuff, or it grows better there or whatever. And you can just tell them you got SMP now. Like, it's just like wearing makeup in my mind. Women don't wear makeup to try and fool people into thinking that they look better. Naturally, they're wearing makeup, and you know they're wearing makeup, but sometimes they wear it subtly, so you don't quite see why they look nicer, and then you like realize, oh, it's eyeliner, it's lipstick or whatever. It's that. It should be subtle. So anyway, drop questions. If you got questions, I'm happy to help. Like, this has been a mind fuck for me. I want to make sure people make the right decision. Like, if you make the wrong decision in this, it's pretty fucking bad. Like, I've been looking at the horror stories, and I'm so happy I avoided that. I've also been seeing people who've had a great experience, but a lot of them don't really document it. So what you end up with is marketing videos, and that is fucking useless. What this is increasingly going to be focusing on as time goes by is what it looks like several years down the track. If I let it fade out, if I do decide to get a touch-up for whatever reason, although like my current thinking is no, like I don't want to double down on this route. This is an interesting thing. I'm happy with it now. If I go back to being bald, that's totally fine too, like in a few years. So anyway, that's where I'm at now. Like I said, ask questions, and I don't want to say like and subscribe, because like this is just a little fun channel. So ask questions, reach out, don't be a stranger. Stay true, baldies. Talk to you later.